For decades, MASH has been remembered as one of television's most remarkable blends of comedy, heartbreak, and humanity. Set during the Korean War but airing in the shadow of Vietnam, the show spoke to audiences about war, compassion, and survival. Among its many memorable characters, few captured hearts, like the shy company clerk Radar O'Reilly. Portrayed by Gary Burghoff, Radar symbolized innocence in a place defined by chaos. Yet behind the warmth and laughter viewers saw on the screen, the reality was more complicated. Burghoff's time on the show was marked by creative tension, personal struggle, and difficult choices that eventually led him to walk away from fame. The birth of Radar O'Reilly. The story of Radar O'Reilly began before the television series ever existed. In 1970, visionary director Robert Altman brought the Korean War satire to the big screen with the film MASH. Altman cast the young stage actor Gary Burghoff as Walter Radar O'Reilly, a naive but perceptive company clerk. At the time, Burghoff was only 26 and relatively unknown, working in regional theater and music. His portrayal of Radar, filled with awkward gestures and quiet sincerity, stood out in the film's chaotic humor. Even with limited screen time, Burghoff's performance created a character audiences remembered. Radar became a symbol of innocence in a cynical story about war and authority. From film to television. 2 years later, television executives decided to adapt the film into a weekly series. When CBS began casting the new show, Burghoff was the only actor from the film invited to reprise his role. Though honored, he hesitated. The film had been rebellious and edgy, and he worried that network television might soften its message. Ultimately, his attachment to Radar convinced him to return. When MASH premiered on September 17, 1972, few predicted its long-term impact. Over time, the series grew into a cultural phenomenon. Radar's shy voice, quick salutes, and uncanny ability to hear helicopters before anyone else quickly made him one of the show's most beloved characters. The heart of the 4077th. As the show gained popularity, Radar became more than comic relief. Critics and viewers increasingly described him as the emotional center of the 4077th Mobile Army Surgical Hospital. Burghoff added many of the character's most memorable traits himself. The teddy bear Radar slept with, his nervous mannerisms, and moments of quiet empathy were largely Burghoff's ideas. These touches made Radar relatable and human. Fans wrote thousands of letters praising the character's kindness. In a world filled with wounded soldiers and cynical doctors, Radar represented hope. For many viewers, he reminded them that compassion could survive even in the darkest circumstances. The weight of innocence. Ironically, the very qualities that made Radar beloved eventually became a burden for Burghoff. While other characters evolved, Radar was expected to remain eternally boyish and innocent. Actors like Alan Alda, Wayne Rogers, and McLean Stevenson were allowed to explore deeper emotional arcs as their characters matured. Radar, however, had to stay the same gentle soul audiences adored. Producers feared that changing him too much would break the magic. For Burghoff, this created intense pressure. He felt trapped in a role that demanded perfection while denying him artistic growth. Over time, maintaining Radar's innocence began to feel emotionally exhausting. Tension. Behind the cameras. Life on a television set can be demanding, especially during the early years of a successful series. Filming days often stretched to 14 hours, and the scripts were constantly rewritten. Burghoff's dedication sometimes clashed with the faster pace others preferred. He frequently questioned dialogue or requested additional takes to capture the emotional truth of a scene. While some admired his commitment, others found it frustrating. Reports later described tension between Burghoff and Wayne Rogers, who played the confident surgeon Trapper John. Rogers was known for efficiency and precision, while Burghoff worked more intuitively. Their different approaches occasionally created friction during long production days. The rumored confrontation, according to accounts mentioned in the biography written by Raymond Astrait, one confrontation between Rogers and Burghoff became particularly memorable. During a moment when Burghoff questioned a rewritten scene yet again, Rogers reportedly lost his temper. In frustration, he slammed a chair across the set. Though no one was injured, the moment shocked the cast and crew. Production halted for the day as tensions cooled. Both actors returned the next morning and continued working professionally. But many people felt the atmosphere had changed. While Rogers later left the show after season 3 due to contract disputes, rumors persisted that creative conflicts had also played a role, a difficult decision. As the seasons continued, Burghoff found himself increasingly drained. Radar carried much of the show's emotional weight, and Burghoff often felt personally responsible for maintaining the character's sincerity. By the late 1970s, he decided it was time to step away. His final regular appearance came during the 8th season in 1979. Leaving MASH meant walking away from one of television's most popular programs, but Burghoff believed it was necessary for his well-being. Fame had become overwhelming, and he longed for a quieter life away from constant production schedules and public attention. Life beyond Hollywood. After leaving the series, Burghoff did not disappear entirely, but he deliberately stepped back from mainstream fame. He returned to theater work, explored voice acting, and focused heavily on his personal passions. One of those passions was wildlife painting, an art form he pursued with deep dedication. Unlike the fast-paced entertainment industry, painting allowed him solitude and reflection. Burghoff often explained that he preferred stability over a celebrity. He once remarked that he disliked flying and preferred to stay close to home. This philosophy reflected his broader desire for a grounded, peaceful life, far from Hollywood's pressures. A quiet legacy. In later years, fans continued to remember Burghoff with affection. His occasional public appearances reminded audiences that the gentle spirit of Radar still lived within him. In 2018, he appeared in an online video with his children to raise money for victims of devastating California wildfires. The campaign helped collect more than $16,000 for relief efforts. Speaking softly, he thanked donors and encouraged kindness toward those who had lost everything. Moments like this reinforced the connection many fans felt between Burghoff and the character he played. Radar's compassion seemed less like acting and more like a reflection of the man himself. Remembering the cast. As decades passed, many members of the MASH family were lost. McLeana Stevenson died in 1996, while Harry Morgan passed away in 2011. Later, David Ogden Stiers died in 2018, and Loretta Swit also left behind a lasting legacy on the series. Through reruns and streaming platforms, however, the show continues to reach new generations. In those episodes, Radar still enters the tent clutching his clipboard, and teddy bear. The conflicts and exhaustion behind the scenes fade away, leaving only the warmth and humanity that made the series timeless. Understanding the man behind Radar. With the benefit of hindsight, many of the rumors about Burghoff's supposed difficulty on set now appear more nuanced. What some colleagues once interpreted as a stubbornness may have been the result of deep sensitivity. Burghoff cared intensely about authenticity and emotional truth in his performance. That dedication sometimes slowed production, but it also contributed to the powerful moments audiences remember today. Radar's quiet reactions, nervous pauses, and gentle compassion were not accidental. They came from an actor willing to invest his entire emotional energy into the role, even when it left him exhausted afterward. Conclusion: a timeless kindness. Today, when people revisit MASH, they rarely think about backstage conflicts or production challenges. Instead, they remember Radar O'Reilly standing quietly in the background, listening for helicopters before anyone else. Gary Burghoff's decision to leave the show may have surprised fans at the time, but it ultimately allowed him to protect his own well-being and pursue a life that felt authentic. His performance remains one of television's most heartfelt portrayals of innocence in a troubled world. In the end, Radar's legacy reminds us that kindness, even in wartime, can leave an enduring mark on generations of viewers.